Poilievre is a liberal light. For Trump, dealing with Carney or dealing with Poilievre is the same. Poilievre is more against Trump, and he wants to go ahead and impose more tariffs. He tried to pander to that leftist electorate, but it is time to be serious. This country will be destroyed by mass immigration.
Why is he loved by his party?
Because when he did campaign, he was speaking like a real conservative.
The impression to me is like you're running to daddy to protect from a bully.
If we want to have a deal, we need to put that on the table. Carney is the globalist in chief.
What does it mean to be a Canadian?
Saying that we are putting Canada first, it's not a slogan for me. It's a reality. But for Poilievre, it's an empty slogan.
I still don't know what it is to be a Canadian. What is it to be a Canadian? That is just absolutely embarrassing.
And I understand Trump, and I'm ready to work with your president. We will do what is right. We are the only hope for Canada.
How do you, because when I watch how he manages the relationship with President Trump, and then you see President Trump saying what he's saying about, Mark Carney, and yeah. how are you able to manage working with the president when the president is saying Canada 51st state? Are you at all even open to the idea of Canada 51st state, or that's just he's just toying with you? That's kind of how you view it. But what is your approach on, let's just say you end up becoming a prime minister? What is your approach going to be on dealing with President Trump?
I'm not open to the 51st state. I'm doing like Trump in Canada. I'm fighting for Canadians and for the sovereignty of our country. I'm putting my people first. So the way to deal with President Trump, it's, you need to, right now, we have a free trade agreement between us, the U.S., and Mexico. And that will have to be reopened in 2026. We need to reopen that free trade agreement right now, and we need to put everything on the table. For example, President Trump is the one who negotiated the free trade agreement when he was president at his first term, and he wanted for your dairy producers to be able for them to export their milk in Canada. But because we have a cartel, a system called the supply management, our dairy, poultry, and eggs producers are producing only for the Canadian market. They cannot export, and they are fixing the price. They call that supply management. It's a legal cartel. So, and Trump was not so happy at the last negotiation because, we said, no, we want, we have to protect the cartel, and we want open our borders to your milk, cheese, and eggs. So we need to put that on the table. But Poilievre and Trudeau, they want to protect the cartel. They're very influential. Actually, they did buy membership cards of the Conservative Party of Canada when I was running to be the leader, to be sure that I won't win, because I said at that time, 10 years ago, we need to abolish that cartel, and it will be good for Canadian consumers because we are paying twice the price if we compare that price with prices in the U.S. for milk, poultry, and eggs because of that cartel. So let's put that on the table. I'm the only one who's saying that. We will be able to have a good deal. And Trump said, if you're imposing tariff, I will impose tariff. If you withdraw your tariff, I will do the same. I believe in free trade. Let's do a real free trade. But right now, there's 300% tariffs on the milk, and you cannot export your milk in Canada because you won't be competitive with that tariff for 300%. But it's not only with milk, it's a lot of other products. We don't have a free trade between Canada and U.S. We have a managed trade. Trump wants to have, a fair relationship. Let's abolish all these tariffs. It will be good for us and good for you. So first, put everything on the table. Be sure to reinvest to protect our borders. Be sure to reinvest also in our own defense. We are not doing that. We need to at least spend 2% of our GDP in our defense. We're not doing that. It's maybe 1.2% or something like that. We need also to have a new defense relationship with the U.S. And, Trump is a little bit concerned about the north, our border in the north with Russia, and the Arctic. We need to be sure we don't have a base over there. as Canadians. So we need to reinvest there. We need to protect and have a new agreement, defense agreement with you guys, so we can do that. If we do that, I'm pretty sure that we'll have a good deal. When Trump is speaking about, Governor Trudeau or 51st state, for me, it won't happen. It's not serious. But what I understand also, he wants to bring back manufacturing industry in the U.S., including, businesses from Canada. So what we have to do as a country, we need to have, economic policies that will be more competitive. So our, income tax on business is too high. So let's let the free market decide. But I want to compete with the U.S. and I want our businesses to be able to compete with you guys. But now they're not able. That's why there's tariffs. So we need to lower tax on business, cut capital gains tax, less regulation. And like that's the only way to build our country and to be competitive.
It's interesting because when I asked the polls, how big is the People Party of Canada? Roughly 4.9% is what I see. 5% is what I see.
5%. That's the score that we had at the last election.
Okay.
So my goal for this election is to double that.
Okay.
So if we double that to 10, we may have a couple of candidates elected, but our goal is to push, the government that would be elected in the right direction, to promote our ideas, to change the public opinion. And, we were successful on immigration. Now, our challenge is the mainstream media is not speaking about us. They know that if we have more visibility, we will grow faster. And like I said in the beginning, they're leftists. They don't want to. That's why, I'm doing podcasts, and I want to thank you for it.
I love that. I respect that a lot. But yeah. I'm going somewhere with this. If you can show the poll I ran a poll, this is March 7th, say 10 days ago, 13 days ago.
Yeah.
Who's a better candidate for Prime Minister Canada? You had 34%. He had 51%.
Yeah.
And if you go a little lower in the comment section, Rob, just to kind of see these two party of choice. Okay, how are you not seeing that Pierre is just another globalist uniparty who deserves to slither away and never be heard from again? I don't know who this person is. Rachel Caroline Pla. I'm just trying to see how the audience responds. The PPTC and Max needs to be the party of our choice to remotely start to heal from the years of government abuse. Maxime Bernier, no contest. I mean, if you go through the comment section, you have a lot of people that want you to, be up there and get the attention. You have a big support from the audience with Canada. Yeah. What do you think needs to happen? And by the way, in Canada, is it similar to Brazil, where Pierre, if it gets to it to win, he's going to need you to beat Carney, or no? Is that how it works, where you got to kind of get in there to help him out, or no?
No, if like Trudeau didn't have a majority government. He had a majority in 2015, but now that's a minority government. So they had a coalition with the NDP. And so if Poilievre doesn't have a majority, he will need to do a coalition. So we can have a couple of MPs there and doing that deal with Poilievre for sure. But we won't merge with the Conservative Party because the Conservative Party is not conservative anymore. So that's the big problem. Look at every issues. They are not. They are afraid to speak about conservative values. Everything that Trump did, working against the woke ideology, there's only two sexes. Poilievre won't say that.
He won't say that?
He said, I must admit, that there's two genders. But after that, the journalist did ask, if you applied for your Canadian passport, Mr. Poilievre, you have male, female, and X. Are you going to have only male and female for the application? And he didn't want to answer that question. So he said, no, the preoccupation is the economy, stupid. So for him, wokeism and the trans ideology, it's not important. For me, it's important. It's unfair. And DI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, we need to change that. We need to have, unity or, promoting, meritocracy and not inclusion. But Poilievre won't go there. Poilievre is not doing the cultural war. That's why people are mad at it. Trump is doing that in the U.S. I'm doing that in Canada.
That's such a, if that's the case, that's such a lame and weak position. I mean, look at this here from January, Poly Market. Look what Pierre was. Okay, go to January, Rob, if you could. Can you zoom it all the way back? No, the way where you were right there. Zoom in a little bit. Pierre, according to Poly Market, was at 90%. Carney was at 12%.
That was at that time Trudeau. Okay, but Carney.
Oh, Trudeau's there as well, 3.6% to win. Rob, is that what you're running? And then now, if you come to today, Polymarket says what? He went from 91 to 41. Is this really true that he's dropped 50 points of popularity?
Yeah, right now in the poll, Carney have an advantage.
That is what happened for him to drop 50 points?
Because his branding was to be against Trudeau. And, and he didn't put out their policies. And that's Harper. Harper told him, you are the leader of the opposition. Your role is to oppose everything that Trudeau is doing. Don't go out there with policies first, because if they're good, the Liberal will steal it and run on your policies. And second, if they're not good, they will destroy you. So don't run on any policies, just be against. So now the problem is Trudeau is not there anymore. So you have a new leader. And so his branding is against Trudeau. And now you have Trump. And now, people want to have somebody that will fight Trump. And he's not that guy. He doesn't have, any private sector experience. And also don't forget the media also. The mainstream media did promote Poilievre. I told you, they're not Poilievre, sorry, Carney. They did promote him.
Yeah, but that's Pierre's fault for not wanting to go and talk to other people. He just, he
cannot right now because it's empty slogan. He doesn't have any platform, so he cannot have a discussion.
I hope he does.
He will have a platform during the campaign, but it's a little bit late. And, it's all about, he believes that if you want to win an election, you need to have good coverage from the mainstream media. And said, forget the mainstream media. So when he's doing a press conference, it's all about, he's speaking by slogan and with no details because he doesn't want to give details. Poilievre doesn't know what he believes in right now. He will know just before the election when he will do poll and focus group. So that's why I said he's a follower. He's following the public opinion that has been manipulated by the leftist media. He's not leading. And now you can show that. That's why it's happening. People want a leader with ideas. And Poilievre is not out there.
Rob, is this updated as of today, March 20th?
Yep, it says up in the top corner,
and this
March
is
20th.
Polymarket.
Yeah.
That is embarrassing. Have a CEO of a major insurance company in Canada. And here's what he sent me to ask. His question was, will you commit resources to lifting interprovincial trade barriers?
Yes, I said that 10 years ago. Absolutely. And you know what? The federal government can do that. It's in our constitution. That is under the responsibility and the jurisdiction of the federal government. We need to have real internal trade and free trade across the country. And yes, you can do that. You use the Constitution to be sure to have that after 100 and more than 150 years, we still don't have an economic union in Canada. But the good news is the government of Nova Scotia, two weeks ago, they said, okay, we will have a new legislation, no more trade barriers in our province, and that's an incentive for other provinces to do that also. We are welcoming goods coming from other provinces, and they were the first one to do that. So I hope that other provinces will follow. If not, the federal government can push that and use the power that we have in the Constitution to do it.
That's very important because to us, it may not be a big deal in America. We don't know what that means, right? But over there, it's kind of like being an EU and, you're trying to do business and it's a little bit complicated.
It's easier for a business in New Brunswick to sell goods in Maine than it is to sell that in Quebec. So we need to abolish all that.
That's crazy, yeah.
That's the reality.
Justin Trudeau, right? I mean, we haven't even talked about him yet. Justin Trudeau, have you had any interactions with him? Have you, how different is he behind closed doors than he is when the camera's on? Or is it the same person?
I had a dinner with him maybe 2 times when I was in Parliament. I was in government, he was in the opposition. And at that time, we had a dinner, and he said, Maxime, a day you're going to be the leader of the Conservative Party, one day, sorry, and one day I'll be the leader of the Liberal Party of Canada. So, and that was maybe in 2009, 2010. And this guy, he is funny. Is a good communicator, a good actor. He can cry on demand. I cannot do that, but he can.
He just did that a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, he can. But, there's nothing there. He's empty. You'll have a beer with him. He will chat and about, culture and sport and things like that. But, does this guy, what he did for the country, he did destroy our country in 9 years. And so it's immigration, the economy, the growth of our GDP is going down, and GDP per capita, like I said. So personally, we had a nice dinner, chit-chat, but no, the guy is a little bit also full of himself, and he's that publicly, privately also. He think that, he's running on the name of his dad. His dad was very well known, and I said it, this guy was elected the leader of the Liberal Party because of his name, Trudeau, and his dad, and also his look. He was young, and but now people realize, and that's why I believe that the Liberal, it would be very tough for them with Carney to be reelected because of that record from
What
Trudeau.
was his father known for?
His father was known for starting the multiculturalism in Canada. He's the one who, and he did that to try to, when his father was in power, we had a separatist movement in Canada. You had René Lévesque at that time, and we had a referendum on the independence of Quebec. And the way to fight that was with multiculturalism. So Trudeau said there's no two funding a nation, Quebec, Anglophone and Francophone. And he tried, and that was the beginning of multiculturalism. And Trudeau put that at the extreme. So he was well known also to fight the separatists in Quebec. He was well known also to fight Western Canadians and being against the oil and gas industry at that time also. So Trudeau was a real socialist, actually. Yeah.
His father was a true socialist.
Trudeau father, yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right there. Liberalized divorce, abortion, homosexuality in 1967 as minister. So now, with the current state of things, I looked at the numbers. I called a couple different guys, and one of the fellows I talked to, let me see here. Okay. He asked to stay anonymous, but you know who he is. Yeah. I asked him, I said, so what's the difference between Pierre and Max? Yeah. I'm curious to know what he's going to be saying. If I say who this person is, he was involved in politics. No, what I'm saying is you know who it is. He says, short answer, Pierre will be prime minister. Max probably won't even win his own seat. But more fundamentally, Max is a true libertarian and has always been. Pierre is a true blue conservative. Do you agree with him? On the politics at the end, the libertarian and the true blue conservative.
Well, Pierre, no, is a red Tory. He's not a blue conservative. Look at his policy. He's a red Tory, like a liberal. I said climate change. I said immigration. I said, the war in Ukraine. Also, Poilievre is for the war in Ukraine. Right now, he said, Canada must help Ukraine. And Trump is trying to have a peace deal over there. So we are the only one who said that. About, I'm saying that Trudeau won't win. But, you know, we are a small political party right now in Canada, but our growth is going very well. And maybe I won't be prime minister at this election, but I may be prime minister at the next one in 2029, because we're doing politics on the long term and our ideas are becoming more and more popular. But, you know, on the economy, I can be a libertarian for sure, but I'm a real conservative. Family values, faith, less regulation, more freedom. I'm the only one who did fight for freedom of choice during the COVID hysteria in Canada. You know, we had lockdowns, stay-at-home orders, vaccine passport. Poilievre was okay with that. You know, if you're a real conservative, you must fight that. You must fight for individual freedom. Poilievre was not fighting for individual freedom. I was. So, you know, these... Look, we all like a little bit the Reform Party in UK with Nigel Farage. Nigel, you know, at the last election, he had only 15% of the vote. He was able to elect 6 MPs, 6 candidates. And now, after a year after that election, Nigel is ahead in the polls with the Reform Party. And the Reform Party, it's about the same platform of our political party, the People's Party. So what I'm telling you, you know, the growth can come, but because of our parliamentary system, it's a little bit more difficult for us. There's no proportionality in our electoral system. It's not like in France or other countries where you have proportionality in your electoral system. We don't. It's a parliamentary system. So it's more difficult to have seats, but we will.
Max, I'm going to give you final thoughts. This has been a pleasure talking to you. I appreciate you for coming out.
Thank you.
I love your energy. For the audience that's watching this, he lands last night, and this morning you ran 12K?
Yeah, 12.
12K this morning prior to coming to the meeting. And we had a great conversation about Doug Flutie, because you used to play football back in the days. And Doug Flutie was a Canadian. You know, he went from Boston College to play quarterback. Final thoughts to Americans and Canadians that may be listening to this.
Yeah, I'm telling to Americans, we won't be the 51st state. Just understand that. We love you, and we can have a better relationship. And I understand Trump, and I'm ready to work with your president to be sure that, you know, we will do what is right to protect your own security by protecting our own security in Canada.
Respect. Maxime, this has been a pleasure having you on. Thank you so much for coming out. It's been fantastic.
That was fun.
Thank you. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.